Welcome to the NewsHour. The fallout from the recent release of the Epstein files is continuing. His longtime associate and convicted child sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell declined today to answer questions from a congressional committee in a closed-door deposition.
Maxwell, who was subpoenaed by the House Oversight Committee last year, said she was invoking her Fifth Amendment right to avoid self-incrimination. She appeared by video from a prison camp in Texas where she's serving a 20-year prison sentence for sex trafficking and other crimes. Maxwell's deposition comes the same day lawmakers were given access to view the unredacted files. That includes two congressmen who led the congressional push to release the Epstein documents. That's Congressman Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna.
It has exposed people in the highest levels in technology, in finance, in real estate. It has exposed the establishment and monarchies in other countries. So our push is how do we expose this and have accountability, not how do we score political points or have retribution.
Our Justice correspondent, Ali Rogan, has been tracking all of this and joins us now. So, Ali, let's start with today's developments. What did we learn?
There were a number of actions today that really were efforts to pierce through this shroud of secrecy that still remains around many of these documents. We did just hear from Congressman Massie and Khanna. They said they've seen the names of 6 men whose names were redacted in the public version that they were able to see today, who they said would likely be incriminated by their inclusion in these files. They did not name the 6 men, but Massie said one was a U.S. citizen, one is a foreign national. For the other 4, he said he could not determine what nationality they were based on their names. He did say, though, that one, presumably the one that we know is a foreign national, is pretty high up in a foreign government. This is all happening as we're learning that the FBI wrote a summary in 2025 saying that there were, quote, 4 or 5 Epstein accusers who were claiming abuse at the hands of men or women. Of course, we know that many more survivors have come forward than 4 or 5, but that there was not enough evidence to federally charge these individuals, so the cases were referred to local law enforcement. Meanwhile, as you mentioned, Ghislaine Maxwell pleaded the Fifth today during her deposition before the House Oversight Committee, but her lawyer did say that she would, quote, very much like to answer questions if President Trump grants her clemency. He added, quote, both President Trump and President Clinton are innocent of any wrongdoing. Ms. Maxwell alone can explain why, and the public is entitled to that explanation. The last time President Trump was asked about this, he said he wouldn't rule in or out, granting Ghislaine Maxwell a pardon.
And separately, we know that President Clinton has agreed to appear before this committee at the request of the Republicans who lead it. Have those details been worked out?
That's right. We know so far that former President Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton are slated to sit for separate, closed-door, videotaped interviews before the depositions before the House Oversight Committee. But now Bill Clinton is saying that he does not want that deposition to be videotaped, but that he would participate in a public hearing that people can watch in real time. But House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer said today that this is the way that he's conducted all of the depositions in this investigation so far. And he told us today that Hillary Clinton's is scheduled for February 27th and Bill Clinton for March 11th.
And there is an international aspect to this because you have U.S. allies that are dealing with their own version of the Epstein scandal. How is this landing overseas?
Very differently. There seem to be far bigger consequences for political leaders in the UK than there are here in the United States. The fallout in the UK centers around Peter Mandelson, who was serving as the UK ambassador to the United States. He was appointed to that role by Keir Starmer. Police are now investigating Mandelson for alleged misconduct in public office tied to emails he sent Epstein in which he shared government information. Mandelson maintains he did nothing criminal, but the fallout is already centering around Prime Minister Starmer. He's facing calls to resign, including from members of his own party. Already, his chief of staff and communications director have resigned over this. And today he met with members of his own Labour Party, presumably to try to shore up some support. Also under police investigation is Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, King Charles's brother. The king said today through a spokesperson that he, quote, stands ready to support the investigation and that, Jeff, his thoughts remain with the victims.
And yet no such reckoning stateside. Why?
That's exactly right. And it's really, although we should note that just being mentioned in these files is not a suggestion that there was any wrongdoing,
Right.
but the split screen that is playing out between the political crisis in the UK and business as normal in the U.S. is really striking. And that's as new details are coming out about President Trump and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick's connection to Epstein and things that they have told investigators. We now know that Lutnick had even more social interactions with Epstein than had previously been revealed. We covered that last week on this show a little bit. Now we know that Lutnick and Epstein both signed documents to invest in a private company on the same day, and they traded cordial messages for years about Manhattan real estate. Lutnick invited Epstein to a fundraiser for Hillary Clinton in 2015. A spokesperson for the Department of Congress says this is a distraction and that the two men met in 2005 and had, quote, very limited interactions with him over the next 14 years. And Jeff, on Trump himself, there are new files reported on tonight by the Miami Herald that President Trump, not then President Trump, told investigators back in 2006 that, quote, everyone knows he's been doing this, referring to Jeffrey Epstein, which of course contradicts many of the things we've heard publicly over the years from President Trump about the nature of his relationship and when it ended.
So much to track, and yet we can't lose sight of the survivors. What are they saying about all
That's
this?
exactly right. Yesterday evening, to coincide with Super Bowl Sunday, the anti-human trafficking nonprofit World Without Exploitation released a 40-second PSA featuring Epstein survivors.
We're standing together.
Standing together.
Because this girl deserves the truth.
Because she deserves the truth.
Because we all deserve the truth.
Jeff, this clip concludes with a QR code inviting viewers to sign a petition urging Attorney General Pam Bondi to release evidence they say exists and to provide an explanation for why millions of pages remain withheld from public view.
Ali Rogan, thank you for this reporting. We appreciate it.
You bet.
Support journalism you trust. Support PBS News. Donate now, or even better, start a monthly contribution today.